Thank you for tuning in to the Benjamin Beats podcast. This has been a Benjamin Beats podcasting.
All right, so get those headphones ready because today we're going to dive deep into mobile music production.
Mobile music production.
Yeah, where your phone basically becomes like a recording studio.
Oh, wow.
It's pretty wild, and we got some really cool sources for you today.
Okay.
We've got excerpts from mobile music production, a beginner's guide, and even a YouTube short to kind of break it all down.
Awesome.
Yeah, and some of this stuff is really mind-blowing. We're talking Grammy-nominated tracks made on an iPhone.
Really? Just on an iPhone?
Just on an iPhone.
Wow. That's incredible. It really makes you wonder if expensive studios are, going the way of the dodo.
Are they necessary anymore?
Yeah.
Right?
But even more interesting, I think, is how this shift, might impact music itself.
Ooh, okay, let's unpack that.
Yeah.
So the beginner's guide kind of lays out the basics. Mobile music production is all about using smartphones or tablets.
Right.
And these apps called mobile DAWs,
Okay.
which stands for digital audio workstations. They're basically like your pocket-sized recording studio.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's not just about the tech, right?
Right.
The guide tells this really interesting story about one creator's journey into mobile music production.
Okay.
And they started with like just a cassette player and this passion for down south bass. That like 69 Boys Dis End that kind of sound.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yep. Yeah, old school. But think about that, like that same drive to make music.
Yeah.
But now it's fueled by these incredibly powerful mobile tools.
Yeah.
It's really cool. And this creator even talks about how mobile production was like a revelation for them back in 2016. It really changed everything.
Wow.
Yeah.
And they weren't just making beats either, right?
No, they weren't.
They developed this whole workflow around loop stacking, loop layering, and sample-based production.
Yeah, it sounds pretty complex.
It does. I'm curious, do these techniques seem almost like digital versions of how DJs used to scratch and mix vinyl?
Oh, that's a really interesting comparison.
Yeah.
I see what you're saying. It's like taking those classic techniques and bring them into this new digital realm.
Exactly.
And the guide even mentions how this creator blends down south bass with Motown pop R&B.
Wow.
Like that's some serious sonic fusion.
That's really cool.
Right.
It's like you're taking all these different genres and you're kind of like putting them in a blender.
Yeah.
And seeing what comes out.
A little bit of this, a little bit of that.
Yeah, and that's what's so fascinating about it, is the start of genres becoming more fluid or even disappearing entirely.
Oh, hold on. Let me grab my notebook.
Okay.
That's a thought-provoking point.
You're right.
But first, let's get into the tools themselves.
Okay.
All right. So the guide shouts out a few popular mobile DAWs, FL Studio, Mobile GarageBand, Launchpad, Music Maker Jam.
Okay.
Now, these are way more affordable than those like pro-level studio setups.
Oh, for sure.
Which is awesome.
Yeah, because those can be really expensive.
Oh, yeah. Super expensive.
Yeah.
And speaking of affordability, this creator actually details their essential hardware.
Oh, cool.
So they've got JBL headphones, portable speakers from like JBL Boss Bose, even Tai Anaclia.
Taike and Aclia.
You had to let that one up.
Me too. I've never heard of that one.
Yeah.
Wow.
Plus a Polk Signa soundbar. And get this, their whole setup runs on iOS.
Oh, wow.
So an iPhone 6s, an 8 Plus, and an iPad.
Really? An iPhone 6s? That's pretty old.
I know.
That's amazing.
It's like a reminder that you don't need $1 million studio to create amazing music.
Yeah, that's so true.
And speaking of amazing momination, the guide drops some serious success stories.
Oh, okay. Like what?
Steve Lacy, the Grammy-nominated artist.
Yeah.
He made a demo on his iPhone.
What? Really?
Yeah.
That's wild.
Isn't that crazy?
It's more than just cool, though, right?
Yeah.
I mean, this is challenging the traditional music industry gatekeepers.
Totally.
Like suddenly anyone with a smartphone has the potential to produce Grammy-worthy track.
Yeah, and it's like democratizing the industry in a way.
T-Pain even jumped on the mobile bandwagon.
He did.
Yeah, making it more mainstream.
Yeah, he was like all about it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Love T-Pain.
And don't forget Olivia Wilde.
Oh, yeah. What about her?
The actress and director, she shot an entire music video on an iPhone 6s Plus.
Wow.
I mean, mobile devices are blurring creative lines like crazy.
They really are. It makes me wonder, is this a case of the best camera is the one you have with you, but for music?
Ooh.
Like, are we going to see a decline in professionally recorded music as these mobile tools become more powerful?
Ooh. That's a good one.
Right.
But before we spiral down that rabbit hole,
Okay.
the guide offers some quick tips for like aspiring mobile musicians.
All right, let's hear them.
Okay, so starting with choosing a beginner-friendly DAW,
Makes sense.
like GarageBand or FL Studio Mobile. Good advice, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
You don't want to get too overwhelmed when you're first starting out.
for sure. Start simple. But here's where I think it gets even more interesting. The guide talks about experimenting with pre-made loops and customizing them.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it almost seems like the mobile environment encourages a different kind of creativity.
How so?
One that's more about like remixing and building upon existing sounds.
Oh, so instead of starting from scratch, you're taking something that's already there and then kind of making it your own.
Exactly.
That's a cool concept.
Right. Like, is this the birth of a whole new approach to songwriting and composition?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Right.
I like that.
And they also mentioned paying attention to BPM beats per minute.
Okay.
You know, so you don't end up with a sonic train wreck when you're moving between apps.
Right. You don't want your music to sound all jumbled and chaotic.
Yeah, no one wants that.
Yeah.
And of course, tapping into mobile music communities for inspiration and feedback.
Yeah, that's always a good idea.
Always good to connect with other creators.
Definitely.
All right, so we've got the theory down,
Idea.
but seeing is believing. That's where our YouTube short comes in, 41K RKJ4W8.
Right.
I took a peek beforehand, and it's pretty mesmerizing.
Oh, really?
You literally see someone making music on their phone, and it really ties into everything we've been discussing.
Cool. I'm excited to hear more about it.
All right, you've got me hooked. Now tell me more about this YouTube short, but no spoilers.
Okay, no spoilers. Got it.